should you test drive Florida by renting before you buy? Today we're going to talk about the pros and cons of renting first to see if you like it. We'll also talk about the best ways to find a rental. Yo, I'm Adrienne, longtime Florida realtor, and I'm here to help you get your Florida life. Happy Wednesday, everyone. I put out new videos every Wednesday. You can subscribe to follow along. If you find value in these videos, I'd love it if you hit the thumbs up. It helps me out. If you have more questions and would like to book a call with me, I've made it really easy. You can click on the link below and pick a time. Today we're talking about renting a home. If you have rented a home in Florida or found a rental, I'd love to hear how you found a rental. It's not easy around here. You can put that in any advice you have in the comments below. Let me be clear though, I actually don't work with rentals. I have, however, worked with many people who started renting here and then they went on to buy. So I've heard the pros and cons of both. Don't worry though, I am not going to push you to buy. I've been doing this long enough to know that many people rent here and love it. I will probably still be doing this job in a year or so when your lease is up. I'm happy to help you. That being said, let's start with the three biggest pros. First, when you rent, you're here. You can spend a lot of time getting to know the lay of the land. You can really decide what areas you like, how you want to spend your time, especially if you're retiring. Many people come here thinking they will spend their retirement in a very specific way, and then they get here, they find new hobbies, meet new people, and it turns out a little different than they thought. Second, when you're ready to buy, you're here, meaning you can go see a house if it pops up on the market. Now, you know we do a lot virtually these days. I've sold many houses without people seeing them before they write the contract and they end up happy, but it is nice to be able to walk into a home first. Third, in the typical real estate market, not 2021 or 2022, you don't do very well financially by selling 1 year after you buy, especially if you get a mortgage. Standard advice has for a long time been that you should buy if you plan on staying in the home for 5 years. Now, again, last few years have proven this advice wrong, but we don't know what the future brings. So for this video, I'm sticking with the standard advice. In a way, I think the pros are pretty obvious. I'm going to tell you ahead of time, most of my cons directly negate these pros, but that's not really my intention. Again, I'm not here to make you say, we must buy today. Again, I'm likely to be in business next year, but I want you to think about this decision in a different way because I've known so many people who say to me, we should have just bought in the beginning. That would have been a better plan. So I'm going to give you what I hear them say. Maybe you'll relate to that. Maybe you won't. But at least when you rent, you'll be able to look back and say, we really thought about it in all different ways and we have no regrets. Let's talk about that big pro. You can get the lay of the land and do a Florida test drive. This is very true. However, I've met with a lot of people who tell me they've been renting down here and have spent the entire time thinking about whether they want to move or not. They visit open houses, they look on the internet, but they don't do the things they would do if they lived here. Now, make no mistake, a lot of local residents go to open houses, but with a different mindset. Meaning, the people who are renting don't join the boat club, they don't join the golf club, they don't get to know their neighbors because they're not going to be their neighbors in a year or so. So they spend all this time deciding. Then deciding kind of becomes a habit and they end up renting for years because they've looked at so much stuff and they've analyzed to the end. We all have heard the expression or the thinking that making no decision is making a decision, and I see that a lot. If you're going to rent first, my advice is either get a year rental and say, we will spend the first 6 months playing and seeing what we like and really pretending we live down here forever. And then you really buckle down and then start really looking for houses at the 6 month mark. And you say to yourselves, we are not going to renew this lease, so we have to get this done. Or get a very short rental, maybe a couple of months so you can look for houses. I've seen people do this who still need to sell their house up north. It's still a very good strategy. If you see houses with me while you're down here and I know what you like, it becomes very easy for us to find a house you will love, even if you've gone back up north. This leads me to that second pro of getting to see the houses in person. I will not tell you that seeing houses virtually is better or even exactly the same as seeing them in person. Of course, it's nice to see the house you're going to buy in person. However, know this if you're completely against buying virtually. There are strategies of getting you in the house before you are locked into that contract. We can discuss these individually if you'd like, but you should know that Punta Gorda and probably most of Florida has been set up to sell virtually for years before COVID. I sold more virtually during COVID than I did before, but certainly not my first virtual sales happened during COVID. Long before that, people have been relocating to Florida for a long time, and of course, people in my industry have been trying to make it as easy as possible for you to come here. Now let's talk a little bit about the finances of renting first. Short-term rentals do cost more per month, but are still likely to be less expensive. Annual rentals in Charlotte County are likely to cost you right now in August of 2023 between $2,000 and $3,000 a month. And finding something for $2,000 a month is tough. A year of renting is going to cost you probably minimum $30,000. You might be thinking, yes, but I don't have to pay insurance or pay home improvement costs. Make no mistake, you are paying these things. You're paying them for your landlord. What I think is a better strategy that I've seen people do is if you come here and you buy and you in a year say, oh, we just hate it here, we can't live here, you can turn your house into an investment property and become the landlord after a year. I've seen many people buy a property and then rent it out some years and use it other years. There's a lot of options because rentals here are very hard to come by and typically it's a very good rental market. So therefore, typically this is more lucrative than paying somebody else's bills. Plus, many people love living down here. You are likely to like it and then just stay in that house. Of course, every situation is different. You should talk to a financial advisor or accountant to see what they think. Now let's talk about finding a rental. Short term, you know where to find them, Vrbo.com or Airbnb. But if you've reviewed the facts and you still think an annual rental is for you, great. My advice for finding a good rental is somewhat the opposite for how to find the best home to buy. When you buy a home, the best thing you can do is find an agent who you like and trust and stick with them. That's because sales agents show other people's listings all the time. The rental market is different. Most rental agents don't show other people's rentals. So they only have what they have to show you. It's rare to find an experienced agent that does rentals and sales. They are two very full-time jobs and you can't do both as well as you can do one. We all tend to gravitate towards one or the other. I do have a rental agent I recommend. I'll put her link in the description. All that being said, as a renter, you're kind of left to scour the internet on your own. I could almost throw this into the con category because I actually think it's easier to find a house to buy than to find a rental. But it is possible, people do it every day. Thank you for watching. Reach out with any questions. I look forward to seeing you next week.